Welcome to this new podcast. Today we are starting a new series. I have called this series The Other Side of. I've been wondering about the kind of guests that I have been attracting for a while now, and a lot of discussions are being uh, focused in a very not in a very direct way, but because all of us are working or in the process of finding our path within the career paths that we've chosen, I found that would be an interesting way to start the discussion and maybe focus on how our work life affects us and our values and how our values affect our work life. Having said that, I do not intend to focus too much on it and plan too much about it. It will remain a free flowing conversation. So today I have with me a guest who's a very dear friend and she's being on the podcast once. Uh, if you want to look back, she had spoken about being introverted at that point of time. Uh, let's start with the other side of a yoga teacher. Uh, Let me welcome my friend Chitra. Chitra, welcome to this podcast. Uh,
Hi,
and you are the first guest in this series. Um, Congratulations for
thank you,
whatever
thank
it
you.
is worth.
The privileged one. I am the privileged one.
Okay, I've been thinking about this for a while now, and as luck would have it, your name came up last week, and me and my daughter were discussing about you. She said, "Why don't I speak to you?" And I've been wanting to start the series, and was unsure about what I want to cover. How does it impact the flow of conversation? But today, like all other conversations, this is going to be unplanned. I was just wondering what is the first question I want to ask you. So I have a question.
Hmm.
In the modern world, as modern citizens who are privileged to know English, who are uh, privy to knowledge of various kinds, where the Western world controls a lot of things that we know and the way we look at it, as well as belonging to a country that has many different traditions of knowledge that we are inheritors of in a way, like you are for yoga. How do you see yourself today in terms of, is there any kind of questioning that happens on that front? Because in a way, Indian traditional knowledge is about slowing down of sorts and more quote unquote worthy. I don't want to call it worthy because Western knowledge is not unworthy really. Western knowledge is far more rational and in a different manner that we look at it. I'm talking about specifically from an the way we've been educated point of view. It's not a telling statement of what is this or what is that. So, how do you see yourself as a modern citizen in today's world, handling an inheritance that is ages old? Uh, do you see it like that? Do you not see it like that? What are your views?
So I do feel it's like a huge responsibility when I am in class because now it's especially that yoga also has become how do I put it? Say commercialized or at least there is a lot of awareness and knowledge amongst people, but a lot of wrong information also. So, or if not wrong, I would say partial knowledge or partial information, which is all the more dangerous because then you limit
Yeah,
yourself. And so, when I am in class, it is a I would say it is challenging because I want to stick to the roots and the essence of, what actually yoga is or what the field is about. But at the same time, you have to cater to your uh, say target group or the people that come to you, because so somewhere finding that balance and yet giving authentic this thing knowledge, so to say, is is quite a bit of a challenge, because as you would know, or as people who are listening would know, yoga is far beyond like physical, or asanas would be just one, like one drop in the ocean, but it is only known for that, unfortunately. So getting the people to, okay, you might want to start with that, but it is, way more than that, not just at a physical level. So trying to help people develop that interest to not just stay at a physical level कि बस मेरा back pain ठीक हो गया and okay I am doing yoga, to help them go a little beyond, or how it would help them off the mat also, and yet not feel like oh किधर प्रवचन क्लास में आ गए. So to bring that balance, it is quite a bit of a challenge, I would say. Yes.
Okay. So, okay, I have a question here. You have managed to talk about the manifestation of your thought process. But if I were to ask you to go back a little, when you started and when you decided that you were going to teach yoga and make this uh, your career or sorts, how did you come across what is it that you will be able to transmit in terms of knowledge? I use transmit very loosely. There are I'm unaware of uh, the the repercussions of using such a word. But I what I mean is verbally or in the way that you are communicating
Right.
to people,
Hmm.
what is it that you are telling them, or what did you think you would tell them? How much of this was a problem for you when you started?
Actually, to tell you the truth, I never decided to become a yoga teacher. Okay,
Oh,
it just happened. I had initially, like back in my bachelor's, I had thought I would work with children, say in a preschool, something like that. But then we had a subject in counseling in TY, which took my interest. So then, of course, I had decided to do masters in my field. That is, I've done my masters in human development, which is a branch in home science. So after my masters, I was sure, at least in my head, that I wanted to become a counselor. Okay, but I never felt equipped कि मैं वहाँ पे बैठूं, and if someone comes with, uh, a problem, so to say, I still felt that I would be, at loss of words to, so to say, help the person. So then I did another PG diploma in counseling psychology to feel more equipped as a counselor. And since that was a part-time course, I had the time, and I did a diploma in yoga side by side, which both of which were kind of a 1 year courses. So, and I've been practicing yoga since a kid, but that was just essay for myself. I used to tag along with my mom, then I used to go by myself, never professionally. So after while I did my diploma, we had a 1 month internship, and in that internship, the group, they kind of liked the way I taught, and they used to come and ask, "Oh, sikhati hai kya? Do you take classes otherwise, or will you take if we have a group?" And so my first client came as one. Uh, During the internship, my supervisor, she had just started her own studio. So then she had me as a trainer there. So I was working with that studio, and वो जो internship का group था, the target audience, there was a doctor in that group. So she had taken my number, she referred her patient to me. That is how I got my first client, and it was just by the way. Like I had never thought, and I did my diploma not to become a teacher. I just did it. But it so happened that people started liking the probably the way I taught or I conducted classes. And then so that's how I kind of started getting clients. And in the meanwhile, तभी clients भी कम थे, इक्के दुक्के ऐसे थे. So I was working as a visiting faculty in the field of home science, human development. So both were kind of part-time, part-time. So then later on, I had to choose whether I wanted to take up this field full-time or that field because both full-time wouldn't be possible. So that's how then I took up yoga and not
And that
lecturing.
point, when you picked up yoga, did you, okay, this is still uh, a personal story, if I were to
So
say
so
so.
yeah, so I
But
never
when
had to
you,
make that choice to how as in
yeah, but once you started, what was your mind space in terms of uh, understanding how to uh, explain to your uh, I don't like calling them clients, but to your students of sort.
I yeah
Uh,
students.
so how would you teach them, or what was your modus operandi, or where did you get stuck, or did you ever think about uh, these things, the importance of what
Uh,
you were teaching?
Initially, I'd never focused on imparting the subtler aspects of yoga as well. Maybe one because uh, the initial students that I got were, like I said, one was through a doctor. So she was already a patient, so to say. Like it was more of a therapy class. Knee pain hai, back pain hai, isko theek karo, usko theek karo. So that never happened. So that was like a senior citizen. Then the other, so initially I never focused on, actually, I don't remember when I started imparting, uh, if I can say that, uh, you
Yeah.
know, non-practical stuff. But I believe it was in that studio that I was teaching because there we thought कि खाली आसन 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 से ज़्यादा we need to talk about what otherwise also yoga is. So, and my approach, so to say, has always been uh, to to say in a manner which is, I would say, digestible to or palatable to a layman. कि उनको ये ना लगे कि भाई क्या
Heavy handed.
हाँ मतलब दे शुडंट फील कि हम आसन करने आए थे हम योगा करने आए थे और ये शी इज
कुछ और ही
मेकिंग लॉट
ज्ञान दे
ऑफ
रहे
हाँ ज्ञान तो ज्ञान लेना नहीं है सो आई हैव ऑलवेज बीन कि टू मेक इट इन अ वे दैट it becomes easily acceptable to people. So probably the way I say, or I've picked up a lot of the way I explain from my teachers, not yoga teachers, my teachers back in school, back in college. So they have been having this, must type of, you know, kind style of
chilled
speaking.
attitude.
Huh. And that is very catchy. So I somehow like subconsciously I've been picking up their style to convey even the heavy topics of uh, yoga.
Okay. Uh, since all the series are under the umbrella of the values workshop, my own struggle with understanding life has been what we think we are and what we actually are, and how do we grow into what we want to be. Uh, I think most of us have grown up in a time and age where values were given a lot of uh, weightage. We got thrashed if we lied. So that was one way. Obviously, we were taught not to steal, uh, not to use language which would hurt others. Uh, Not to say that we've been very successful at all times, but the idea that this is desirable was always instilled in us. Uh, Vis-a-vis today's generation, where I think knowledge for its own sake has become a lot more important and covering and checking all the boxes. Uh, in fact, one of the reasons of starting the values workshop was that this needs to be spoken of at least. How successful are we would be another story, but at least we can talk about this in various ways. So my question to you, uh, yoga is supposed to be fairly serious and fun. One doesn't imagine yoga teachers being funny or uh, less than serious teachers of the subject. Um, Most of the time that is true. I've done a couple of yoga courses here and there. There's a fairly serious vibe in the class. I've done some courses with you during COVID, smaller ones, of course. Uh, you two have managed to retain the serious vibe, but there is a element of fun in your real life, having known you in circumstances off the mat as well. So you laugh and you go for parties or whatever. It's not that you are vehemently against the discipline, but you do not limit yourself to being uh, the stereotype, for want of a better term. Uh, in fact, you've named your firm Yogatainment, so that kind of covers the ground that you've been wanting to operate in.
Absolutely.
Um, how do you manage to find the balance? Are there people who are unhappy with this aspect of you? What is your response to yourself internally if you have been seen as somebody who's not serious or not understanding the gravity of the kind of subject?
So, yeah, when it comes to no one has really told me, you know, or criticized or anything of that sort. In fact, some people have been fascinated with the name. Oh, a lot of people have been fascinated. When it comes to me, at times I struggle quite a bit to come to terms with what I'm giving, if I can say that. Because sometimes it is actually a challenge. Sometimes when you see people in field who are uh, being very uh,
Proper.
yeah, either proper or sometimes people might be liking the concept and the name, but you have your own imagination of what people would be imagining about you, right? So, so the fear of what one would say or think uh, at times uh, puts questions. That is one. Second, sometimes I feel or let's just say, I have questions whether I'm doing justice to the field or not. Sometimes when I receive, say, a review or uh, a feedback from my students, it is usually no. It has always been very satisfying. So that kind of brings me कि नहीं सही जा रहे हैं, you're on the right track. But then a lot of times you need that reassurance कि you are on the right track or what you're doing is not ऐसे ही. So yeah,
Wonderful.
questions quite
It's a
often.
beautiful thing to see. No, it's a beautiful thing that my guests are so openly vulnerable on camera, it humbles me many times, because that is exactly what the values workshop is about. Just putting it out there so that somebody draws strength from the fact that others feel like me and they are courageous enough to come on camera and say the truth. However, I have a little question first and a bigger question, which takes a different aspect of the job that you do. Um, the reason why you are easygoing about it, you told us that you have borrowed from your teachers and you like that style of teaching and you try to incorporate it as best as you can. When you need to be strict, suppose somebody does not get the hang of, they take your personality as easygoing, so they do not take their responsibility as students of yoga seriously. Has it ever happened? And if it happens, then what do you land up doing?
It has happened because, of course, not everyone
Don't
is.
point out at me. Officially, I was never a student.
Oh, you were once, though that group was
Oh,
quite
yeah,
large.
yeah. That time I did it seriously.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know.
you were serious back then.
Yeah.
So, so every student is different. In a class of 10, uh,
Can you speak up a little? I can't hear.
sorry, you want me to be a little
Can
louder?
you speak up? Speak up a little.
So, okay, a little louder, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Louder.
okay, okay. Now is it better?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, of course, there are many different types of people you come across. Some in a group class, there's always a naughty child, whether they come to yoga or whether they go for a science class. Okay, so there are always naughty children in class, adults. I always call them children though. So then there are students who so like I said, there are all kinds of students. There are some naughty children, there are some serious students, there are people who are not naughty in class, but uh, it is frustrating when there is like a huge absenteeism. So then, because you have something in mind that you want to give or you want to see a particular change, so
Result.
to say, a result. Uh, but अगर आप 12 में से 4 क्लास मिस करते हो, and it's like then it becomes very frustrating because there is no link. So, yeah. So I do find it difficult, especially because I am not the strict kinds when it comes to students or clients. I have become better than what I was earlier in terms of putting down boundaries, or maintaining a professionalism, this thing. Um, because I don't know whether it is my field or whether it is every field where when people become old students or old clients, people have been with you for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then you have more of a even informally you know each other better. So then maintaining your boundaries or being firm becomes difficult. So uh, yeah, I have had a lot of difficulties. I still do have, but in certain aspects I'm better off than where I was earlier. But I do, yeah, when it comes to, like I said, there are naughty students. So if the naughty students gets active, those say 5 or 7 minutes in that 1 hour, I have to really
Bring them back.
bring them back. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm
I
learning.
have a I have a question that I had earlier, which skipped me. So now, which kind of connects to what you've been saying. One of the things that I found in the yoga classes that I attended, which were not quote unquote modern, they were very typical kind of yoga classes. They always have a system in place, uh, a prayer to start with, or a certain kind of mantra. Then what you get into, they don't smile a lot, sheerly not because they do not care. In fact, they care so much about getting uh, the asana right, or whatever they are asking you, or even the knowledge that is being imparted, if it is of a serious nature. uh, some of the teachers that I had were Maharashtrians. uh, Not that there are not mistakes. uh, there were certain things that I wasn't allowed to do because of my health, and my immediate teacher didn't know. So that went on for quite a long time, and when the main teacher found out, there was uh, hell to pay for. Like, how did you allow this guy to do this asana or that asana, whatever it was? So, have you tried, or do you think some kind of structure, since your personality is a little more effusive and smiling and easygoing, so maybe getting into the zone of adding some touch of discipline at point A, point B, and point C kind of thing? Have you tried that? Are you looking at that? What do you feel
So
about that?
yes, structure wise, yes. My classes are structured as in uh, I know, and now even the students know what we are going to start with. Say, for example, we'll start with, say, 7 minutes of centering, then we'll have Omkar, then we'll have the prayer, then we'll have the warm up, then we'll have whatever the main body of asanas, whatever we are doing. And then we'll end with either some relaxation or some breathing, or depending on how much time we have left. So that way, yes, the class is structured, whether it is a personal training or it is a group class, whether it is online, offline, doesn't matter. There is an outline to the class, and content would differ, but the outline would remain same. So,
I mean, so for example, I meant it like a solution to the problem that you seem to have. So
yeah,
where
so
you bring in
uh,
those guys to, um, I
structure,
don't know.
no, so if, say, for example, if there's absenteeism, I don't know, I think probably I need to learn to realize more seriousness, or not seriousness, maybe more motivated to not skip a class. Uh, या फिर for example, probably I think me as a student, I have been like a student to the T all my life, and I still am. If I'm doing a course, I have to do it properly. So
True.
I expect the same from my students, that if you have enrolled yourself for whatever, a dance class or a yoga class or a whatever class, mathematics class, you can't miss out. So uh, inculcating that kind of an attitude in, but each one is different. I mean, I have students who have 100% attendance also, and I have students who are like very serious in class. It's just a matter of different people. I don't know if that can be helped, though it is
Yeah.
frustrating for me at times.
Yeah. No, in fact, I maybe a bit of seriousness on your part where it didn't understand that the smile is not equivalent to leniency.
Yeah, probably.
It's a nature thing. Uh, Maybe making them pay extra if they are being absent or
That's a good
something.
option.
Yeah,
I will
because
keep that in mind.
yeah,
So
not when
actually,
I'm undertaking your class.
as a team, we had come up with this. We didn't implement it, but in our discussion, because we've had discussions as to how we can improve consistency of people, how we can make them stick to a program. Because if people fall out, it's a loss for both us and them. So as a team, we've had this thing. So one, we've tried, as in once we'd implemented, but otherwise we have to try implementing, giving uh, perks for those who are more, say, for higher attendance. One. Another we had discussed, but we didn't implement, about this negative marking hota hai. So if you miss out, you kind of pay for what we never implemented it though.
Okay. Two different kinds of serious questions. One question is that things like yoga, meditation, all these things to do with which have quasi-spiritual uh, base. I call it quasi-spiritual because, like you said, most people see it as only doing asanas, so they may not understand it and they may not want to come for it. Uh, uh, how do you reconcile yourself to asking for payment for passing on something uh, which is quote unquote sacred? Uh, I just want to know, is there a sense of morality or value system where you feel that you're compromising or you're not, or does this thought ever cross your mind?
A lot of times, a lot of times. In fact, uh, that is a challenge. One of the other challenges also, like some other challenges that we spoke about, this is also one important, that not just me, uh, like of course I have a lot of colleagues and friends in the field, and we have spoken about this so many times. I've spoken about this with so many different trainers in the field कि यार लोगों को लगता है योगा है तो आपको तो दान धर्म ही करना चाहिए, how can you charge for it? So one, people also having this attitude about how can you charge. So for example, if personal training is obviously costlier than a group training,
Class.
so that kind of an attitude coming from people, especially when there are nothing wrong with it, but there are a lot of NGOs imparting uh, also,
Yoga classes.
yoga classes, conducting yoga classes. There are pros and cons. I wouldn't go into it right now. There are pros and cons with those institutions. They are good, but naturally, if it's an NGO, it would either be free of charge or else it would be for whatever maintenance they charge. So people have this thing कि अरे उधर तो 500 rupees में पूरा महीना हो रहा है, and you charge like, so getting that from people, and a lot of times then you also end up thinking that uh, if I'm charging ज्यादा तो नहीं है, या फिर whether it's the right thing to do. But then there is also this thing that uh, as a
पिज्जा का
professional,
पैसा कौन देगा?
exactly. I mean, I'm not a pizza fan, but yeah, that's the livelihood, right? It's like a doctor. A doctor is charging, वो भी एक noble profession है, but a doctor charges for his or her services, right? So it's the same thing. टाइम का पैसा है, हम हमारा टाइम और एनर्जी दे रहे हैं, and you're coming for it voluntarily.
Yeah.
Most probably no one is pushed you into it. So then, if you're availing a service, take it as a service that you're availing. It's chargeable. So Yeah, I do have, and like I said, a lot of other trainers do have to struggle with it at times. Sometimes I I also work with a lot of NGOs. So doing your good part, some part, just say some part is for uh,
The society.
society, and some part you earn from it,
Okay.
to some extent.
Another question that was running in my head was uh, sometimes, okay, this is really connected again. There are many new forms of yoga. I remember when I was trying to do film writing, one of the senior directors in the industry was doing something called hot yoga, and he seemed to enjoy quite a lot. He used to come and smoke and then then go and say, "Yeah, I've just come back from yoga," and he was trying whatever he felt like his uh, version of living a healthy life. Um, Also, there are fancy studios charging fancy rates for yoga. Uh, I have not been to many of them. Just that whatever one knows of people. Um in a world that is being ruled by capitalism, where one can get away with murder if one is good at one's job, very often, how do you retain your sanity as a person who's who wants to charge and maybe charge decently? I do not know what you charge or what you do with your what is the model that you operate on internally. But how do you come to a midpoint where you are satisfied, but you know that you're not greedy? Is there any such midpoint? In fact, the earlier question can also be elucidated a little better because I want to know what you feel about it very strongly, more than the discussions that happen outside, because that happens, one knows. And it is good that you bring it up because these are uh, professional issues, perhaps. But as a person whose value system is in a certain manner, how do you look at what to charge, how much to charge, and is this good enough? Does it work? Does it not?
One, uh, I like thankfully I'm not working alone. Like now, earlier I was like a solo trainer, freelancer, but now we have a team in place. Of course, it's a small team, but any program that we start, uh, whether or any new student or client, whether it's a personal training or if you are to start a group training, thankfully, I don't have to make at least these management decisions by myself, and I'm very happy about it. So there is brainstorming, and so uh, coming to what we generally do, this thing is one, whether it is viable for us to परवड़ेगा कि नहीं भाई, and to some extent, to large extent, we consider whether सामने वाला इतना पे करने को रेडी होगा कि नहीं. So depending on the program that we have to offer, uh, there's a brainstorming and a discussion that happens. So thankfully, I don't have to
So
make
it's like a
those.
proper business decision most of the time.
Yes, most of the times, yes. So that is one good thing. Sorry, can you come back with your question?
No, internal dialogue. I am more concerned about
And the
here do you
second, this thing, yes. Thankfully, I don't know how much sense this makes, but I have this belief that the universe guides our or my every action. So I kind of when that I don't know whether I can call it I won't call it greedy. That's a very raw term. But when uh, uh, when only monetary side takes the better of me, I think universe has its way to uh, tell me or teach me or show me the way कि भाई uh, you also need to consider other aspects.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I've kind of observed it. कि yeah, I've observed it over a period of time. So
The stock market goes down basically when you become greedy.
I am out of stock market.
Okay.
But yeah,
And
you
that
can say
seems to
that.
be a lesson for other yoga trainers there. Um, One other thing, this is a generic question, not necessarily connected to yoga. You happen to be a yoga teacher, uh, uh, which is the best of both worlds, actually. Teaching and then yoga is a very noble thing to do. But that apart, uh, how much do you think a yoga teacher needs to concentrate on his or her value systems to be a good yoga teacher? Uh,
100%.
yeah, but in your experience, if you could share a story or something where one is below par or at least uh, something that kind of reflects why this is necessary, what happens? In fact, you have because of the way you have answered most of the questions. But I want uh, moral of the story kind of aspect. If
Uh,
you had to look at something that would say that okay, this is something that you would never do or you would do, and that has helped you.
I would say, like any other profession, or for example, you are a writer, right? Without reading, you cannot write. So if you stop reading books one day, I think you would not be a good quality writer anymore, is
It's a
what I
bad
understand.
example because I have stopped reading for a long time
Yeah, but
now.
then you would have stopped writing much as well.
Okay, what is the point you're making? Because I do not know
So,
where you're going with this.
yeah, so if you stop your own practice or if you stop
Like that.
applying uh, what you're teaching, sooner or later, you're going to fall out. वो सामने
Ah,
वाले को
that way.
दिख जाएगा. So, it will come out in your class, as in uh, your students will understand. Forget your students understanding.
You yourself would know.
Huh. So if you stop your practice or if you stop applying what you're giving, uh, वो चलेगा नहीं ज्यादा लंबा.
Okay, so you're saying without the base of integrity in every aspect of your business, there is no path only.
Absolutely. So if so there are these principles of yoga, like you was saying earlier, बचपन से सिखाया है सच बोलो, चोरी मत करो, and in yoga there are these 5 basic rules we call as yama and 5 niyamas. Yamas are like you said, truth,
Moral values.
non-violence, yeah, moral values that you follow as a part of society. You being a part of society, there are these 5 values that you need to live by: truth, non-violence, asteya, non-stealing. So there are these five. I won't go into details of those. I personally feel one should. I don't know whether this would be like a message to give out, but but I personally feel that one should. It's difficult to live by every value, right? Especially in today's world. Of course, you want to follow every value, बट जरूरी नहीं है आप 100% ऑफ द टाइम्स हर चीज फॉलो कर पाओगे या करोगे यू वुड बी इन जंगल देन सो इन आई फील एटलीस्ट pick up one value for yourself that you that vibes with you the most or which you live by and follow that 100% if not 199 बट आप 99 ट्राई करोगे अब 100 ट्राई करोगे तो वो 99 जितना होएगा तो आई फील just picking up that one value for yourself others fall in place or fall in the line so yeah without practice there is nothing.
So to set your mind at rest, I write a lot still, even if I don't read as much as I used to. And yes, I do understand the place where you're coming from. This has been a very interesting start to a series that I have no clue whether it is as uh, clear and free flowing like my other chats have been in the recent past. But what I like is that there is a lot of provocative thought in there. People who are interested in yoga, who are interested in living a value based life, would find something worthwhile. So, thank you for your time, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so
I'll
much.
see you around.
Yes,
Bye.
thank you so much.
Bye.